Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film a recent reads video. So I say recent reads, but some of these books I finished quite a while ago now. It is May 26th, and I thought I would film sitting out here on my deck. It's really quite humid out, which is unusual. We've been having some quite cool weather in the last few days, but it's lovely and warm and quite humid, I should say. So we'll just get to it because I might get, like too hot sitting out here. I'm just not used to it, and the bugs might bother me. The little black flies are out. So I'm going to start with this book. This is Howard's End by E.M. Forster, and I actually finished this on the last day of April and then just never had a chance to talk about it anywhere. This is I would say a modern classic. It came out in the early 1900s and before World War I, and it's quite well known. There's a movie and all of that. I have never seen the movie, and I think this is my first E.M. Forster, although I think I will probably be reading something else by him because I really did like this novel. I didn't think I was going to at first, but I really liked the themes in it and the end. And so what this story is, this story centers around the property called Howard's End. And we're following two families, the Schlegel sisters and the Wilson family. And these, I think it's Schlegel, yeah. Schlegel, Meg and Helen are the two sisters. And so the youngest sister gets involved with a son of the Wilson family, and it all goes horribly wrong. And there's that sort of starts out the story of their connection, these two families. The Wilsons are very aristocratic and upper class. They're not aristocratic, I guess. No, I shouldn't say they're aristocratic. They are very wealthy, but I think they're more sort of new wealth people, whereas the Schlegel sisters have money too, but they are very, they come from a long line of folks, English aristocrat type people. But they're more liberal in their leanings, whereas the Wilson family is much more conservative and on the conservative side of things as far as socially goes, and they're much more interested in the money side and the development side of things, whereas the Schlegel sisters are more interested in social issues and the plight of the poor and that sort of stuff. So there's some tension there between the two families, but they keep coming in, they keep interacting with each other. There's stuff that happens and they keep coming into contact with each other. And then the third element in the story is a poor bank clerk named Leonard Bast. And the Schlegel sisters become involved with him, and he sort of becomes a project for them, right? Like they want to help him because he's poor. And so really what the book is doing is looking at class issues in England at this time, and really what is important in a society is it money? Is it, because of course this was a time of, of British Empire and all of that. Like, is it money? Is it how much worldly goods you can accumulate, or is it more important to be widely read and interested in the arts and interested in the progress of humankind? And I thought this really has a lot to say, and I think it's really interesting because this book was written before World War I. It makes me wonder if E.M. Forster would have had a different perspective on things if this book had been written post World War I. So yeah, I can definitely recommend this. What I also found out after I read this was that Zadie Smith's On Beauty, I guess, is based on this. It's like a retelling of this story, and I DNF'd On Beauty. So kind of makes me wonder if I should go back and read On Beauty now. But anyway, that's E.M. Forster's Howard's End. I then read a romance novel with my romance reading buddies, Katie and Doris, and that was Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. That is book 3 in the Brown Sisters trilogy, which is a contemporary romance novel set in England, following these three sisters who are all sort of unusual in their own way. E. Brown is sort of one of these mid-20s failure to launch type people, and her parents lay down the law and are like, you got to get a real job and stop messing around, or we're going to stop supporting you. And so she runs off in a huff and gets a job working as a cook at a B&B. And of course, the owner of the B&B is a hot dude, and sparks ensue. This was my least favorite of the 3 books in the trilogy. It's still an enjoyable read, but I just thought that there was a lot less story and too much sex in this one, for me, personally. That was just my perspective. Your mileage may vary. I listened to Accurage E. Brown on audiobook. I then listened to Exit Strategies by Martha Wells on audiobook. That's book 4 in the Murderbot series, which is a science fiction series which follows the Murderbot, who is a artificial intelligence placed in a somewhat human-looking body. And so he was initially developed as a tool to protect clients as they are out and about doing different things. And he, I keep saying he, but there's really no gender to the Murderbot. I just say he because that's just my bias. But the Murderbot is, non-gendered and also not human, although everybody keeps thinking that the Murderbot is human. And so in each one of these short science fiction novellas, the Murderbot is basically, it's an adventure type of a thing where the Murderbot has to either protect someone or extract someone or solve some kind of mystery that's happening. And they're good fun, and they're fast-paced and action-packed. And I loved the ambiguous nature of the Murderbot and the Murderbot's consistent questioning of their own motives and their own feelings, because they don't think that they have feelings, but you as the reader are like, dude, you totally have feelings. Like, you are evidencing your caring for other creatures while you're doing this stuff. But the Murderbot hasn't quite come to an understanding of their own feelings. So they're very good fun. So if you like science fiction and you like adventure stories and you like consideration of things like what is humanity, what is, where does humanity start and end, I think you would like the Murderbot series. Okay, the next thing I finished was a book from my Springathon TBR. This is 1,000 Mornings by Mary Oliver. This is a short collection of her poetry. I really love this. I thought it was beautiful. In particular, there were 2 poems in here about being at the shore. So let me just read you this very short poem called I Go Down to the Shore. I go down to the shore in the morning, and depending on the hour, the waves are rolling in or moving out, and I say, oh, I'm miserable. But what should I do? And the sea says in its lovely voice, excuse me, I have work to do. And I just love it. So the thing that I love about this collection of poetry, I really did enjoy this, is that Mary Oliver writes in a very down-to-earth, sort of practical way, which I very much appreciated. A lot of times with poetry collections, I sort of feel lost, and I feel like I'm not smart enough to understand what the poet is trying to get at. But with Mary Oliver, so much of her poetry is about the natural world and her place within it. There's an awful lot in here about dogs. She's a dog lover. They're great. So if you like, just sort of straightforward poetry, I think Mary Oliver is a great place to go. Also, if you like sort of natural, nature-based imagery, ruminations on the natural world and your place within it, I think Mary Oliver is a great person for that as well. So I'm very glad to have read that. I then read another romance. This is Mine to Possess by Nalini Singh. And this is book 4 in the Psy Changeling series. So this is a paranormal romance. So we have our hero is a shapeshifter, and our heroine is a human, ostensibly, although there's some weird things about her. And in this world, there are humans, there are shapeshifters, and then there are Psy, which are sort of people who can control you with their mind. And they have a hive mind sort of society where they're all connected through their brains. And I listened to this on audio. This is a book off my ancient TBR, so I'm glad to have read it and have it off my TBR. But I did not love this book. This book was first published in 2008, and I think it's showing its age. This is an alpha hero romance. I like the science fictional world of this, and I'm interested in what's happening with the changelings and the Psi people and like their sort of struggles and conflicts and all that. I enjoy that part of it. Excuse me if you see blood, that's just the black flies. But he is very macho and very much has to be in charge and ordering our heroine around. His name is Clay and her name is Talon. And I just could do without that. I just don't care for that in my romance. And it just felt very dated to me and just was not. If I hadn't been listening to it on audiobook and in the car a lot, I probably would have just DNF'd it and moved on. But yeah, so just take that for what it's worth. I then read another romance with my romance reading buddies, Katie and Doris, and that was My Last Duchess by Eloisa James, and that is a prequel to the Wilds of Lindo Castle series. And this one I love. This is Regency romance. Our two main characters, the Duke, he's just come off his second marriage that didn't work out, and he has 8 children that he needs a mother for. Our heroine is she has been married previously. Her husband has passed away. She has 1 child. So our Duke is looking for a mother for his children. I love that trope. I love that I got a bunch of kids and I need somebody to take care of these darn kids for me, but I love them all. And even though they're rambunctious and maybe not so well behaved all the time, like that's all right because I love my kids and I want them to have a good mother. I like that. I like that trope. I like the interactions between our two main characters. I thought they were fun. There was good banter. There was a lot of like conversations between them about realistic things, about like parenting and becoming a duchess and whether or not you would want to do that because, having to manage a large ducal estate is not like the best thing ever and not so much fun all the time. And so I like that. The Duke also has a twin sister who is central to the storyline, and I really liked her character. So yeah, it was good fun, good enjoyable time with my romance reading buddies, and that's the kind of romance that I'm into right now. Just pure escapist, fun and good humor and good nature, and just nice. That's what I need in my escapist reading right now. And then last but not least is another book from my Springathon TBR pile. This is Amity and Prosperity, One Family and the Fracturing of America by Eliza Griswold. This is a piece of journalistic nonfiction where the author follows a particular couple of families in a small southwestern Pennsylvania community as they deal with the fact that fracking has come to their community and the impacts on their community, and in particular in their own health issues that happen after fracking starts. So our main family that we're following is Stacy Haney and her 2 kids. She's a single mom. She lives on a farm, and her kids are like heavily involved in 4-H and all that sort of thing. And a fracking well gets drilled like uphill from them, like not far, like feet away from her house, and then her kids get sick. In particular, her son gets very ill, and they track his illness back to probably impacts from water contamination and air contamination from the well. And so there's legal issues and medical issues and property issues and community governance issues, and what's the state environmental protection agency doing to help, and what's the federal environmental protection agency doing, if anything. And so the author is following all these tracks and investigating all these different aspects of the case and trying to find out, and so the whole point of the book is, to explore how fracking changes a community, what the health impacts of that are, what the environmental impacts of that are, and what our governmental agencies are doing or not doing to protect us as citizens from industry. I thought this was excellent. It's very well written in terms of like holding your attention and wanting you to keep turning the pages. My only quibble with this is I thought that the ending did not satisfy me, and that is not entirely the fault of the author, because I think that this story is ongoing. This book came out in 2018, and I think when it was published, there was aspects of the story that are still ongoing, and so there's some dissatisfaction in just not knowing how it ends. But that, other things are wrapped up. So I will also say I am very angered by this book in that the governmental agencies that are set up in order to protect the environment and to protect public health are not doing their jobs. And because the almighty dollar is king in so many cases, that is exactly what's happening here with fracking, in that all anybody can see are the dollar signs and how many jobs are created, and we're going to overlook that we don't know how this is going to impact public health or impact the environment yet. I am fully of the belief that we should use the precautionary principle when developing new technologies and new extractive industries. It's not to say that I think that we shouldn't ever do we shouldn't ever have extractive industries. I just think we need to know what's gonna happen afterwards, and we can't just proceed like we don't think that we know nothing bad's gonna happen, because I think we've been there before, right? Like, we know that there are probably some negative impacts from an extractive industry, so let's know that beforehand, before we start putting these wells in the ground, before we start impacting people's health and livelihoods and environment. But of course that's not the American way, because the American way is, whatever makes the most money wins, and that's just incredibly frustrating. So that's it. That's the last few books that I've read in the last few weeks. It's been really, really good reading month in the month of May, and I credit it to Springathon, and I have been mixing up my science nonfiction with like just genre fiction, and it's just a great mix for me. It's like my happy place. I will do a separate video about all my BookTube prize reading that I've also been doing during this time period, but that will come out after the judging ends for this particular round. Hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read, and I will talk to you later.